Oh, hey everyone, it's another Enough Already podcast. My name's Fingers Malloy. She's Tracy Connors. A little bit later, we're going to talk to Tony Katz of Tony Katz in the Morning News on 93 WIBC in Indianapolis, and our good friend Ashe Schow from watchdog.org will be here with a little ash kicking. Tracy, people are starting to finally, and I'm grateful for this, go to iTunes, and they're writing reviews and all that good stuff for the podcast.
That's amazing. We really appreciate that, guys.
Yes, if you like
that was totally sincere, even though it probably didn't sound like it.
It sounded sincere to me.
Oh, good.
And if it sounds sincere to me, I'm sure it sounds sincere to the folks out there, Tracy. Bill O'Reilly calls them the folks.
Who's Bill O'Reilly?
Exactly. But thank you to all of you out there that are writing reviews. And if you haven't written a review, a 5-star review, Tracy, by the way, 5-star reviews, go to iTunes and please do that and share the Enough Already podcast with your friends. We really appreciate that too, not only to you people out there listening in the United States, but for our international listeners as well, Tracy.
Yes.
Well, where do you want to start? Because I know you've had an interesting week.
Oh, yeah.
I am very fortunate where I have one of those Cadillac healthcare plans, Tracy.
You bastard.
I know. It's great. I don't have to deal. I'm kind of insulated, very fortunate. I'm insulated from all the Obamacare mess in a lot of ways. Unfortunately for you, you are not.
Correct.
So can you kind of walk through what you've been through in the last, well, really since Obamacare went into law, but especially in the last week or so?
Well, it actually starts back in October when the letters went out and the phone calls. So I believe I told the story about how in October I'd gotten a call from
the Russians?
An insurance agent. No.
It wasn't the Russians? Oh.
No, they send me emails and DMs.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just wire transfers. So I got a call from an agent, or I don't know what the hell they're even calling themselves, somebody that was an insurance broker. Mm-hmm. To inform me that I needed to get new insurance because Aetna, which I knew about because I read the news, just like my president does. I found out about it on the news. Is pulling out of the marketplace in Pennsylvania. And so I was confused. I said, excuse me, I didn't go through healthcare.gov. I am ethically opposed to using that stupid website. Well, I don't know what to tell you. Well, okay, thanks. So when do I need to take care of this? And he said, you need to have coverage by December 15th in order for it to be effective as of January 1st, 2017. I said, thank you very much. I'll get in touch with somebody later on. So then a week later, a letter shows up from Aetna, which was completely unhelpful. And it says, if you are in the marketplace, guess what? We're probably just going to dump you into a different plan. It's like, well, that's convenient, but what do I do? So there's a number on there. I call it. It's to another agent. It's not to Aetna directly. And so I asked this person, I said, is Aetna staying in the state? I think so. Okay. Can you give me a number for them? Yes. So I get somebody from Aetna on the phone.
So that I don't mean to interrupt, but the person that you just got done talking to, third party person, or was this a government agent, or was this someone from Aetna?
Third party.
Third party. Okay.
Yeah, I believe this was another broker.
Okay.
So, and while I'm talking to them, mind you, I was Googling things. So before this all happened, I had gone to ehealthinsurance.com. This is, back in 2008, and bought a policy there. Mm-hmm. Easy piece. Then I go there thinking, oh, this will be, maybe I can get a plan before I even get someone else on the phone. Guess how many plans are available in the state of Pennsylvania?
2.
0.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I get Aetna guy on the phone. And it's a whole matter of your zip code now. So let me see if there's a plan available in your zip code. All right. Oh, yeah, we do have one plan. It's the silver plan with it's going to cost you $356 a month. I said, yeah, no, thank you. That's the only plan you got? Yep, that's the only plan we're offering in the entire state. Okay, but bronze still qualifies as an ACA-approved plan. Yes, it does. We're just not giving it to anybody. All right, fine. Thank you very much. So I do another search.
May I ask, what was the silver plan a lot more than the bronze plan?
Oh, well, right now, my plan, I pay around $200 a month. And this went up from the catastrophic plan that I held because I don't go to the doctor very often. I just want something in case I get in an accident.
Right.
Is basically what it is. If I have to pay out of pocket, I'll handle that. But otherwise,
you want insurance.
Correct.
Oh, wow.
Correct.
So this isn't saving you $2,500 a year?
Mm-mm.
Oh.
No, my insurance cost doubled the first time I had to get one of these policies. Almost. Because I was paying between $90 and $100 on the catastrophic plan. Mm-hmm. So I do another Google it up, and I end up at some place that's like, enter all your information. Okay, I'll do all that. And then send it through, and we'll connect you with agents that can help you. So I click, okay. Next thing you know, I'm on a screen that says, here are the available policies in Indiana. I'm like, I'm not fingers. I don't live in Indiana.
Hey. There's nothing wrong with living in Indiana.
No, I know. So I click back. And in the course of this information they were gathering, they asked for my cell phone number. So while I'm trying to navigate back to figure out if somehow I put that I lived in Indiana, which I thought was highly suspect, I get a text message. And it says, hi. My name is Lewis. I can help you get coverage in Indiana. And so I said, sorry, Lewis, I don't live in Indiana.
And Lewis, I'm guessing, lives in India.
No.
No?
Wait for it.
Oh, okay.
Here.
I'm sorry.
So I click it all through again. I end up at the Indiana screen, and I'm like, oh, dear God. I'm never going to solve this problem. So then my phone rings, and it's a Pennsylvania number. I pick it up. And I can't place this accent, so just imagine that it was Indian, but it wasn't.
Was it Lewis?
No. Hello, this is Steve. Is this Tracy? Yes. I called because you want healthcare. Then my other line clicks. So I answer it. It's Lewis.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, Lewis, I'm actually on the phone with somebody else. And he's like, yo, give me a chance here. I can make it worth your while. Or something along this line. So I was like, oh, really? Yeah. Yep. No problem. I said, okay, fine. So I hung up with, but you don't want the healthcare anymore? No, thank you. I got Lewis. So Lewis is a dude that's a New Yorker that's moved down to Florida, and he does this. So Lewis and I banged this thing out in about 5 minutes. Uh-huh. What do you need? Nothing, Lewis. I want the lowest possible plan. I don't want any of this crap. So at the end of it, I come out at $218 a month.
Okay.
This plan will work all over the country. There's no freaking high deductible, none of that stuff. So it sounds perfect to me. So I'm absolutely thrilled. Then I have to have a secondary call. He's like, listen, somebody's going to call you tomorrow. They're going to walk you through all the health questions. And you just say no to all of them. You know, it's like, do you smoke? Are you pregnant? Have you ever been on medication? And these things. He's like, just keep saying no, because anything you say yes to, they're going to ding you. So I was like, well, I'm also not lying. So that's kind of helpful. So I talked to a girl yesterday.
It sounds like Lewis sold you healthcare insurance out of a van by the side of the road.
No, he was much more professional than I'm putting him out to be. Because he said to me, I said, you're from New York, aren't you? He's like, how did you know? Because he didn't have an accent. I said, it's not an accent thing. It's just an attitude. And I was so sick of dealing with people that can't answer the simplest questions. And the fact that you were on the ball, understood what I wanted, and got it done within a couple minutes.
Are you saying Steve did not have an attitude? You do not want the healthcare?
No, Steve did not have an attitude. No. And since this time, I've gotten about 15 other calls because they just pumped my number out, which Lewis for me. He's like, just don't answer your phone for the next day and a half.
Oh, my God.
You're just going to get inundated. So I get a call from this woman named, I believe, Kelly in Texas to do my little verification thing. So it's all reading off a script. So she has to read me all this legal stuff about how I have to carry a policy. And, you know, they only use the Affordable Care Act So because they think people don't know that that's Obamacare.
Right.
But I get it. That's technically not the name of it. So you're not going to say Obamacare. And she wanted me to acknowledge the fact that would be an ACA approved plan that I would have to pay a quote shared responsibility payment. So the second time she reads through this thing, which is at the end of the call, I just started laughing. I said, "Excuse me, Kelly, is that the shared responsibility payment? Is that the nice way of saying you got to pay a penalty?" And she just started cracking up. Like, this is so gross. My shared responsibility payment.
Oh, what
so
an awful use of the English language.
I'm not taking responsibility for myself, but I'm forced to take responsibility for everybody else, whether I want to or not. Yep, that's pretty much what it is. All right, thanks. So I find out in the next 2-3 days if I'm approved for this wonderful plan. And if anybody needs this stuff, hit me up. I'll give you Lewis's number. I'm serious. It was so pleasant after 2 years of dealing with just people that can't break script and have no answers for you and act like you're insane if you know anything about this. Like, I don't know why your plan's getting canceled. Oh, really? You don't? You didn't read the big write-ups and all the papers about how Aetna made a big deal that they were leaving? It was front page news during the election. One of the biggest insurers in the country is just pulling out of Pennsylvania.
Gee, I wonder why Pennsylvania flipped. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's those Russian hackers. Nothing to do with people's health insurance.
Nope.
Wow.
Definitely the Russians.
I know for sure, but I'm going to say this anyway, but I know for sure you probably have already done this. Did you save Lewis's contact information for when your plan is canceled next year? You could just hit up your pal Lewis.
Yes. Well, I said to Lewis, I'm not so naive as to believe that on January 20th, Trump's just going to be able to sign this thing away.
Right.
There's going to have to be some time period where we're stuck with what we got. And now they're talking about repeal and delay or something like this. This is the new phrase. I don't know if you've seen that.
Yeah.
Well, you just can't flip it right away. Oh, okay. Maybe you could, though. Let's think about this, kids. You apparently have at least three replace bills that exist. Are you telling me those were total garbage this whole time? You're just parading around waving them for camera points?
Yes.
Anyway, so, no, Lewis is my buddy. I text him now. Oh, he was great. I was talking to him about Florida real estate.
Oh, wow.
No, he was incredibly helpful.
Could he sell you anything down in Florida? A nice 3-bedroom condo or something while he was at it? No?
No, timeshare, though.
Oh, good Lord. This is Lewis, your healthcare and timeshare consultant.
He is.
Oh, have you ever gone in on a timeshare meeting?
No.
A sales pitch? Oh, good Lord. Oh. They lure you in with that $100, $200 Visa card, and you can't get out. Mm-hmm. It's like the Hotel California. Check out anytime you like, where you can never leave. I mean, you're just in there, and it's like, okay, I've been here for an hour and a half. I'm really not interested in a condo in California for 2 weeks and not really being able to pick what weeks I want. I'm good. I'm fine. Can I have my card? Well, let me explain this to you again, but I'll talk slower so you'll know all the facts. Well, no, I actually got all. I'm really just here for the free visa. Can we cut to the chase here?
Doesn't it go on all weekend, though, to get that $100?
No, I went to this. It's called Blue Green. Do you guys have Blue Green offices in Pennsylvania? They apparently they've got properties throughout the United States, and it's like a hotel more than than condos. They just have these big resorts, and you can have one for a week, and you can pick and choose instead of just being, you're locked in Tampa. They have like 30 locations, and you can move around and make reservations, and that's your timeshare. So now apparently I'm selling timeshare for Blue Green by making a sales pitch. But no, I didn't want. Who takes a vacation every year? Who does that? Like a big vacation where you just take off and you go to California for a week or Florida? Who has the money to do that?
I don't know. Lewis, probably. Right now, I mean, my God. Imagine how many people are doing what I was doing.
Yeah.
Because
yeah. I wonder what kind of commission you get. I mean, talk about a great... That's why I know Lewis will be doing this next year, because unless, of course, we get a full repeal, you have to buy the product or pay a fine.
Right. No, it's not a fine, Fingers. It's called a shared responsibility payment.
I apologize. No, but what kind of commission do you get on that? People are forced to buy your product and you make a commission on it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Remember,
beautiful.
The insurance companies are evil, though. And why are you making me buy stuff from them? Shut up.
Wow. So it's all done.
I just have to get approved. I said no to everything.
Were there some questions that were kind of iffy?
No.
No?
No, it's just like, do you smoke? Have you used tobacco products in the last year? And they read down a list of them, and it was cigarettes, dip, snuff. And I'm like, nope.
Were you sweating it at all if they said e-cigs? No?
I don't care. Just because the government classifies that as a tobacco product does not make it true.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel no problem lying about it, but they didn't include it, so I didn't have to.
I'm surprised.
No,
well, they are 20 years behind, so
sure, sure.
Probably not even aware of e-cigs, but
yes.
Speaking of e-cigs,
yeah.
You posted a story on our Evernote about e-cigs.
It's not an e-cig, though.
I thought it was about e-cigs.
No.
It's
no.
It's
I don't.
New tobacco tech. What?
Yeah. It sounds like this is from a Hot Air Jazz Shaw that Phillip Morris has put in for approval through the FDA for a new tech that, it's, as far as I can tell, it vaporizes nicotine. So it would actually be tobacco.
Oh.
It's not liquid. So these things have existed for pot for forever. That's what I gather from this. It's something similar. So it's rather than heated nicotine liquid, they figured out a way to burn actual tobacco without setting it on fire.
But
so there's
you have
all
to
this
put a big, garbage bag over your head like you with pot? Is that not that I know?
No, you don't put a garbage bag over your head.
Oh, you put like a tarp or something. No, you
don't put anything over your head. No, you put a little nugget in, and you turn it up to, I believe, 360 degrees Fahrenheit. And then it just releases all the water that's in the little pot bud,
you don't want it to get away.
THC. No, it's not going to get away. It's trapped. There's all kinds of different configurations for these things.
I thought it was like one of those, when you were a kid and you had like a mist vaporizing machine when you were sick and you.
No, it's not. It's not
like that.
It's not a humidifier.
Oh,
no.
I thought it was like that. You suck your head over it and you put a tarp over your body, and I was like, that's a lot of work. Why don't you just smoke it?
Right. Well, because you don't want things that are on fire going into your lungs is the entire idea. But so in order to get this on the market, they have to deal with the regulations that the FDA put out dealing with tobacco products, which are the ones that are crushing the e-cigs to begin with. So this Phillip Morris application to get this product to market is 2 million pages long.
Unbelievable.
Can you imagine what that looks like? Remember when you stood next to the ACA bill?
I have to find that picture and put it on the Enough Already podcast Facebook page, because that was the ACA bill, and this was back in when I took that picture. I think it was 2011. So that there are more pages that have been attached to it since.
Yeah.
It was like 8 feet tall. 2 million pages?
Yeah, 2 million pages. I wonder if they're just dumping all kinds of crazy stuff on them just to make their lives hell.
And just to see if they're actually reading it.
Well, I can't believe a human being. I mean, how many people worked on that application? And then did somebody go through and check it? It's madness. I mean, I guess some of it is studies and the science involved. But 2 million pages? Dear God.
How many trees in the rainforest do you have to chop down to be able to?
I can't imagine that they delivered that in paper format. This is not Hillary dropping off the hard copies of her emails. Or it takes a couple U-Hauls.
Let me dream, Tracy. Let me dream.
It's just crazy. I assume that there's some like FU letters in there and other things just to see if they're paying attention.
I would think.
It's just wild.
Do you know what, going back to e-cigs, I'm sure Phillip Morris has their version of the e-cig.
I think they've bought up an existing company.
One of those crappy e-cigs like Blue or something that you can get at the gas station that lasts like 2 days and you toss it out.
Yeah.
They try to make it as crappy as possible. Meanwhile, you got, you're like Mrs. Gadget over there. You built mine out of spare parts. How long have you had yours?
The model that I have now?
You built your own, right?
Well, you make it sound like
you didn't. Not
thing.
From scratch. I'm just saying.
Right, but there are people that do that. That's why I'm saying, like, you have to make it clear that no, I didn't just build a mod, as they're called. No, I bought batteries, tanks, and liquid.
And you put it all together.
Yeah, it's really easy. They have little threading, where you screw things on.
Amazing.
So only certain ones fit. Yeah,
what
it's
an
wild.
age we live in.
I've been using the same setup probably for 4 years, maybe.
Wow. Aren't you tempted
Maybe
at all
5.
to go out and you see these videos of people competitive vaping?
The cloud chasing.
Yeah, and they've got the 2016 setup. You don't. There's no urge to go out. Is there vaping envy? Is there vapor pen envy? You go and you see somebody else and they've got a pen that's... Does size matter, Tracy, when it comes to... No, it doesn't. No.
No, I don't need all that. No, those things they're expensive and they're really obvious. And I like to be low key about it because I still get away with doing it in places that I shouldn't be. But if you have one of the bigger ones, it looks like an old school Walkman size.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to carry that in my hand. I just wear the one on a lanyard around my neck at pretty much all times, and I get away with it.
Can you leave the house without having it on you?
No. What are you, insane?
Like, have you ever hopped in your car and driven about a mile down the road and realized you forgot it? That's never happened.
No. And I have backups in my purse.
Oh, jeez.
When I smoked fingers, I would routinely leave the house with 5 packs of cigarettes on me.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, I was disgusting. So it's not that big of a deal to be like, I've got 2 extra batteries, some extra tanks, and a whole bunch of liquid in my purse.
For those that are new to the show, because we've talked about this before, and we used to talk about it on Snark, how many packs of cigarettes did you smoke a day before you discovered e-cigs?
I was, depending on the day, I probably averaged about 2.
Jesus.
Packs. Yeah.
Can you imagine? And you quit, what, 5-6 years ago?
7.
7 years ago, you stumbled upon a kiosk at a mall selling these things?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I knew they existed and I wanted to try them. So I went to the mall because that's what one does.
Can you imagine today still smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day?
No, I would be so poor. And my health insurance would be $5,000 a month.
Well, not if you lied to Katie or Kathy.
No, that's true. No, when I quit, one of the reasons that I switched is because there was that nationwide cigarette tax that Obama pushed through. And I said, I already dislike this guy. This is 2009. Never liked him. And now he's doing this. I'm going to figure out a way to keep as much of my money away from him as possible. So until recently, e-cigarettes were not taxed. They're still not taxed at the federal level. And it depends on which state you're in.
Yeah, TikTok.
As to how much they're getting taxed. Yeah, we'll see. I'm riding it out. It's been good to me so far. I've probably saved I don't know. I don't want to say $10,000, but it might not be that far off.
Well, no, I may not be that far off at all. If it's been 7 years, and you're smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day.
And when I quit, they were probably $4.50 a pack, and I was just at the Wawa the other day, and they're like $8.
Ugh. Yeah, I nearly shat when I was in Manhattan. I think back in 2013, I was still dabbling in smoking.
Mm-hmm.
I was one of those social smokers where I could go, 6 months without a cigarette, but if I'm out with friends drinking, then I'll smoke a whole pack by myself in like 3 hours. Start chain smoking, then feel like shit the next day and not be able to sleep that night because my heart's pounding a mile a minute from all the nicotine.
Mm-hmm.
But to see a pack of really shitty cigarettes like what's American
Spirits are actually good cigarettes.
American Spirits, ugh.
They're like organic cigarettes, so you know.
But like
no, you're talking like crappy ones are like Pall Malls.
Pall Malls for like $9.50 a pack in Manhattan. It's like, oh my god, how does anyone smoke in this city?
Yeah, they're taxed at something like 200 or 300%. It's outrageous.
I just hope they don't do that with e-cigs, but I
don't know. I've got high hopes that one of the guys that's in the running to be the head of the FDA is his name is Jim O'Neill, and I'm told that he is pro vaping. So he could walk in there and throw that stuff out the window.
That would be great if they do this big official announcement with Trump ushering this guy in, and he has one of your e-cigs laying around his neck. It takes a big drag before he starts talking.
Well, that's what Duncan Hunter did, the congressman from California. They were they dragged some e-cig people in front of Congress to yell at them about how they're targeting children with flavors, as if once you're out of your teen years, you're not interested at all in anything that tastes good.
Right.
You never see adults buying flavored, I don't know, booze or ice cream or anything like that. No, any kind of flavor that has sweet in it or candy is definitely only for children.
I had a friend at one point that would drink cherry-flavored vodka.
Yes. I've had a whipped cream vodka. It's not
vodka.
Bad.
Ah.
Oh, it's vile when you think about it, but it tastes pretty good with Red Bull.
Oh, good God. Nothing tastes good with Red Bull. But I suppose... Oh God, Red Bull is terrible. And then when you see these people drinking it mixed with Jägermeister, which is another awful concoction.
Jaeger bombs.
Oh, good God! Just drink the Jäger.
Yeah, I mean, but really, no one does Jaeger rocks, do they?
No, but you do a shot of Jäger.
Sure.
Back when I was bartending, this was in the early '90s. I probably told you this story 100 times. But we had Jägermeister on tap at the bar. So, and this was back in the early to mid 90s when it wasn't, all that popular. It was just starting to kind of hit the scene. At least it was in Michigan. Maybe it was, really popular on the coasts. But so, I mean, I would walk in on my day off, and before I got to a bar stool, one of my buddies that was bartending would have a rocks glass filled with it just sitting for me. I can't even smell that stuff anymore without getting sick. And I'm not one of these people, there are people out there that black licorice is the kind of thing where people either really love it or they absolutely hate it. There doesn't seem like a lot of in between on that. I mean, I like black licorice, but that stuff's just vile.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, it's gross. If you want black licorice taste, go with the Rumpelmints.
Well, there's Rumpelmints. There's Ouzo. Has kind of a black licorice taste.
Goldschlager.
Oh, Goldschlager. Good God. Talk about a useless liquor. Goldschlager. You can't mix it with anything. I mean, really, I guess you could do some sort of Goldschlager and 7-Up, but then you got like those flakes from the Goldschlager like floating around in your drink. That's miserable. Yep. And did you see? And I should have put the story in the Evernote, but to me, Tracy Connors, there's only one flavored whiskey that's acceptable, and that's whiskey flavored whiskey. But
okay,
you can buy Fireball now in a box with a tap that can easily fit in your refrigerator.
Oh,
doesn't that sound terrible? Isn't that like a worst idea in the history of history? Fireball in a box. It's like those wine boxes where people buy boxed wine, except it's filled with Fireball. What kind? At some point, don't you have to re-examine your priorities in life if you buy a box of Fireball for your refrigerator or your freezer? I'm guessing people like their Fireball cold, Tracy.
Yeah. I guess so, and they don't have access to ice.
Have you ever had it?
No, it's a little frightening. No.
It's god awful. Somebody gave it to me.
You told me, so I believed you.
Ugh. It's like Hot Damn. You ever had Hot Damn?
No.
It's like a hot cinnamon liquor. It's like, why do you want your whiskey to taste like schnapps? I feel like we've gone off into a tangent then.
Yes.
So I apologize. I'm passionate about my booze, Tracy.
I know, and I made a note to myself to send you a box of Fireball for Christmas.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. I'll give
we're
it
good.
to a homeless person in Indianapolis, and they'll probably give me the stink guy for doing it too.
Yeah.
Well, did you see that Time magazine for the second time in its history has recognized Hitler as its Man of the Year?
I was just reading that article. It's amazing.
Oh my gosh.
No, I'm actually kind of shocked.
Are you?
That they would pick Trump to be the
I'm not
Man of the Year?
surprised.
I mean, it just means they're acknowledging reality.
I haven't read the piece yet, but I just assume it's because he's according to them, a vile human being that has hijacked democracy and become president of the United States, even though, in their minds, what are we up to now? 2.2 million more votes for Hillary in the popular vote, as if that means something.
I think that's the last number that I saw.
So they keep throwing that popular vote around as if that matters, but I guess they have to hold on to something because they can't imagine that their ideas were rejected. It either has to be the Russians or it was just stolen from them by the system itself and not the fact that they had a horrible candidate.
Correct. Did you have a chance to listen to the audio out of the Kennedy School?
No, I did not. I apologize. I haven't listened to it yet.
Well, it's quite stunning. So that came out last week, and it was the two campaigns having we're writing the first draft of history with this conversation. Andrea Mitchell kept reminding everyone. So at the table, you had from the Clinton camp, Robbie Mook, Mandy Grunwald, who I don't know who that is, Teddy Joff, don't know who he is either, Karen Finney, she was on television quite a bit, Jennifer Palmieri, and Joel Benenson. And then from the Trump camp, you have Kellyanne Conway, David Bossie, Tony Fabrizio, Brad Parcell, and Corey Lewandowski. And they spent 2.5 hours rehashing the general election campaign.
Oh, my gosh.
And it was moderated by Dan Balls, which is an unfortunate name, from the Washington Post. Catherine Miller from BuzzFeed, who says more than any 15-year-old I've ever run into, and Andrea Mitchell. And I know there were some clips of this played on the news where Kellyanne kind of gets into it with Palmieri and Mook at different points. But I would encourage everybody to listen to the full thing. It's stunning. And there are multiple blow-ups throughout the panel. I don't know why they picked three lefties, and I think Catherine Miller passes herself off as the one Republican over at BuzzFeed. I'm not entirely sure.
But I'm just assuming if they pick a
just
Republican, it's going to be an anti-Trump Republican. right? I mean, was she hostile?
Sure. Well, I mean, it was just obvious. No, she was just really dumb. That's what annoyed me more than anything. I'm like, your job is being a reporter, and you can't form a coherent question. Because they were trying to drive the conversation and ask questions, and they routinely let the Clinton camp skate on things. So they start out by asking, when you came into the campaign, what did you think that your candidate's biggest weakness and biggest strength was? This is I believe that's the first question they ask. Mm-hmm. And the Clinton camp just dances out of it. And I can't even remember. It was so bizarre. You're like, what? This has nothing to do with what was being asked at all. And they continually allowed them to skate. They said, this is what Mook's answer. I wrote it down because I was so astonished. The biggest weakness was the unprecedented involvement of Russian intelligence agencies in this election.
For crying out loud. Our candidate was horrible.
No, they came back to that several times.
Why can't they just admit it?
There was no admission. No. They said nothing negative about her. So that was their weakness number one. Weakness number two was James Comey and his involvement.
Oh, of course.
Not that, I mean, at some point, David Bossie lays into them pretty hard and just says, hey, guys, without the server that she set up on her own, none of this stuff would have happened.
Mm-hmm.
Just crickets then. No responsibility is going to be taken. And I mean, they were still really, really angry. Like Palmieri at one point, I'm trying to remember the question that was asked. They asked about the Podesta leaks. And at what point did you guys know that you were hacked? And what was your strategy to deal with it? Did you have any kind of internal investigation done into what was coming, right? Mm-hmm. Which is a reasonable question. I mean, those leaks were pretty damning to their campaign, you'd think. And this is the first draft of history, guys, so we really need to know this. So she's like, Andrea Mitchell sets this question up. Did you guys do any kind of self-research? Basically saying, did you guys go through and read his emails and figure out what the hell was coming at you? Which you know they did.
Right.
They would have been derelict in their duties if you didn't. So Robbie Mook says, Jennifer, would you like to take that? And she goes, no. And that's the end of it. She just killed that question. I was like, oh my God, this is stunning. And nobody pushed back. That's what I'm saying. The journalists they picked did not do a damn good job, which I know doesn't surprise anybody.
Well, was there any pushback at any time for any of the Trump camp's answers?
From the Clinton camp, yeah.
No, but from the journalists who were asking the questions.
Yeah, they got angry. Oh. No, they just were completely still in the mode of asking questions about things that didn't affect the outcome of the election. For example, they were obsessed with the Judge Curiel comments. Mm-hmm. They talked about them for about 10 minutes. Judge Curiel and the cons. What were you guys thinking? And, they're just like, Corey, because Lewandowski weighed in on that because I think he was still with the campaign when the Judge Curiel stuff happened. Mm-hmm. And they're just desperately begging him. Like Dan Balls from the Washington Post is like, can't anybody get him to stop saying such horrible things? I mean, seriously. They're just beside himself. Like, what's the conversation? Do you tell him, Mr. Trump, you probably shouldn't say that? And he just stops listening to you and walks away? Like, how does this all... I mean, they were obsessed with that part of it. Then they try to get answers out of the Clinton team about the Loretta Lynch, Bill Clinton tarmac meeting. Okay, so Andrea Mitchell asked them about this, about the tarmac meeting. And she wanted to know what the campaign was thinking at the time. And Andrea posits that maybe if Loretta hadn't met with Bill, she wouldn't have had to recuse herself, which wouldn't have given Comey the opening to go and do that press conference. So she sets it up kind of like that. Mm-hmm. And then Palmieri pretends to not understand what she's asking. I'm serious. She's like, so what was the campaign thinking about that? She's like, what do you mean? About what? About Comey? And it's like, no, this is all about Loretta Lynch and Bill meeting on the tarmac. I want to hear you say when we heard that and we found out that happened, we were pulling our hair out and being like, what the fuck? Why did he do that? This screws us. Of course, there's none of this. So she pivots.
They're still scared. They're still scared of these people. Why? What? I don't get it.
I don't know. I don't know why they allow this to happen. So they asked, was that a serious turning point in the campaign? And Palmieri says, I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think that regardless of that meeting, so say that meeting never happens, James Comey would have still done the same thing. And this is a quote from her, based on the way that guy operates.
Oh, brother.
I think that he still would have done the same thing. So they are so obsessed with this. Everybody was out to get them. They're whining about the press coverage that they got.
Oh, you gotta be kidding me.
No. It was hard for us to break through, okay? We wanted to talk about the economy and jobs that one day, and all you guys wanted to talk about was the cons. Uh-huh. So after all this tap dancing around the tarmac meeting, which there was never a satisfactory answer to, and nobody pushed on it, Bossy got in there, and he was just like, you know what that was? That was a turning point moment for us, because it just was something tangible to point to say this is the culture of corruption that exists, that was already on people's radars. And here was something that was so blatantly obvious that we could just keep pointing to it. And they had no good answer for it. And Bossy was really incredible in this whole thing, I thought. And Corey Lewandowski. Both of them are just as brawlerish as Kellyanne is. And it's unfortunate that the only clips that got picked up were Kellyanne, because I thought they had some really good moments where Bossy just walked through like the history of the Clintons. And it's like, this is why it matters. From Whitewater to Travelgate to, selling access to the Chinese, to this, to that, to this, to that. This is how the Clintons operate. And people are hip to it now. And then so from this tarmac conversation, we pivot to a talk. Somehow the Clinton guys got that to a discussion of the convention's fingers.
Okay.
It was really stunning. They're like, no, what the biggest turning points for us were the conventions. And if you'll remember, Hillary came out of the convention. Theirs was second, which always is an advantage.
Right.
So she came out of that flying high. And this is when Kellyanne steps in and she says, you know what? The tale of this election is what happened in August. And what happened in August is that Donald Trump hit the ground running and went all over the place. And Hillary took a nap.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they kind of conceded to this, that, yes, she should have done more. And Kellyanne was just like, we were stunned. We were like, where is she? What is she doing? Why isn't she out there? Because their plan was, as Kellyanne put it, let's figure out who Hillary is and who she will never be. And then we become that and we go wherever she's going. So they were trying to follow her, and then she just wasn't going anywhere. So she said, we spent our time in these states that we knew we could flip because they weren't 10 points apart. So we're going to places like Nevada and other places like that. And the press is making fun of them.
Yeah.
So it was just outrageous. They kept saying, oh, what are they doing? Like scouting for a new place to build a Trump hotel, crossing places off their bucket list. She's like, you guys didn't get it. You still don't get it. And then they bring it back around to the cons and Curiel. And she goes, oh, my God, you guys are obsessed. You don't understand that the American people did not care about that.
I love that they're trying to paint this picture that they really wanted this to be an issues-based campaign.
Of course they did. Well, and they're clinging to some exit polls that say that people that cared about the economy voted for Hillary more than Trump. And it's just like, okay, I can get a poll to say pretty much everything now. But
right.
There was a question that Kellyanne brought up, wrong track, right track poll.
Yep.
And the majority has been on the side of wrong track for a long time. So when this chick from BuzzFeed sets up a question about the conventions, she talks about Donald Trump's speech. The convention, Donald Trump gave the speech, and it was really coherent, but it was dark and like, oh my God, she's doing the dark thing. And I can't remember who jumped in. If it was, I think it was Bossy, I think, that jumped in, and he's just like, you guys don't get it. You really don't get it. Most of America is saying that we're on the wrong track. So they see the country that way. It's only you guys that think that sounds dark.
Which it's comical because that, whenever I hear Democrats or leftists say, well, he was just selling fear. It's like, that's your whole platform. is based on fear, and it has been for decades.
Oh my God, he's going to push the button. As if he walks around with Hillary's reset button on his neck like a Flavor Flav clock or something.
And he's going to ban birth control, and black people aren't going to be able to get in their cars and drive down the street without a cop shooting them. And he's going to... Tracy, he's going to actually put a computer chip in your uterus.
Oh my God, so I should go get that IUD right now.
But they're worried about the other guy selling fear. Really?
It's stunning how much they still refuse to acknowledge reality. So one of my favorite spots in this is coming off of the convention talk. BuzzFeed girl asks them again she throws this to the Trump guys. Were you concerned about using WikiLeaks information? And Dave Bossie said, no, if it's on the front page, we're using it. That's how it works. It's somebody from the Clinton camp, one of the men. And like I said, it's impossible to tell who it was. I knew it wasn't Mook because his voice had become familiar to me. Breaks into this and goes, do you not acknowledge that it was the Russians? So we had to have this discussion. A screaming match breaks out about whether or not it was the Russians. And Bossie says, I don't know who it was. I personally don't know. And then Andrew Minchoff to get in and say, wow, 17 federal agencies. And, James Clapper testified as to this. Do you remember when James Clapper lied in congressional testimony? It's like, I don't believe them. I'm sorry, Andrea. No. You guys have no actual proof, just the fact that you all believe this. Just like you all believe that Hillary was going to win. And how did that work out for you? And then they're like, were you guys afraid of being hacked? This is coming from the Clinton camp over at the Trump camp. Were you guys scared that you were going to get hacked too? Huh? Trying to play up the Russian angle again. Like, you guys were totally in bed with the Russians. Like, Mook is saying that Trump is in bed with them, that there's an FBI investigation going on into Trump's connections with the Russians. You're just like, holy crap. They say that we're conspiracy theorists.
Yeah.
This is just truly, truly stunning. Oh, and they believe that Rudy Giuliani was a mole, that he had some connection into the FBI that was giving them information about the status of the Clinton investigation. He's like, you can see him on tape. This is Mook. You can see him saying "we" a lot, and that's just a dead giveaway.
There you go.
He had a pipeline into Comey's office. Like, he had moles in the FBI that were telling him all this stuff.
It's an alternate reality.
It really is. And you would think that they would be embarrassed by this, but they weren't. And they got progressively more snarky and obnoxious, because that exchange that I'm reading to you is from about the 50-minute mark of a two and a half hour discussion.
Did they take a break at all?
No, I don't know. They might have, but in the audio, it doesn't sound like they did.
And was there a live studio audience?
Yes, and they were allowed to ask questions at the end. And this is just one of the panels that went on at this thing. So apparently they do this every 4 years up at the Kennedy School, which is the school for government, whatever, at Harvard. So there were multiple panels that are pretty interesting. They had a media and the election panel, and that was during the dinner. And Jeffrey Zucker was on that panel. He's the president of CNN. Mm-hmm. People were yelling at him from the audience. I think it was the Rubio campaign guys.
Oh,
because he was talking about how much crap they took for showing Trump all the time and carrying his rallies live. Mm-hmm. And then there was some pushback. They were like, you let Trump on the Sunday shows whenever he wanted to. You just let him call in. Like, nobody did that. And he said, excuse me. At some point he said that's bullshit. And I can't remember what prompted that, but it was something in this line of argument about, Trump could just call in and get on the shows. And the reason I think it's the Rubio guys is because he specifically said, hey, look, Marco Rubio came on with Chris Cuomo. They were fine. And then at the very end, there was an exchange where Chris pushed him really hard on the abortion question and his religious views. And Marco was angry, but within 2 hours, he was fundraising off of it. And then he refused to come on air for the next 10 weeks. So what am I supposed to do with that? He said anybody could have called in at any time. And the thing with Trump is I feel like he's been calling into television shows for as long as I can remember.
Yeah.
And it's just a funny thing to me that he can get through. So imagine if you had the power to just be sitting at home watching the news and see something that you want to say something about. And you're just like, hey, get Zucker on the phone. I want on air right now. It's pretty stunning. So then they had a Democrat primaries and threw up and to the convention panel, which I haven't listened to yet. I've listened to the Republican primary convention and convention panel, which is pretty interesting. And then they had Nate Silver by himself for only about 15 minutes talking about how terribly wrong everybody was.
Where can people find this? Are you going to put it on the Enough Already podcast page?
Yes, but you can search. You can find it. It's up on Harvard. It's ipo.harvard.edu.
I'm surprised they were able to pry Andrea Mitchell out from her yoga pants and Haagen-Dazs ice cream in the past month to have her do anything. You know, I know she's been on MSNBC, but I mean, this has been a life-shattering experience for her.
Well, she's got to be there to help write the first draft of history. They kept saying that. And I didn't know this, but she was on I didn't even know Hillary had a bus tour, but apparently Andrea was with her on it. So she must have been absolutely crushed.
Oh, can you imagine?
No. Can you imagine how awful that would have been? Ugh. It just smells like Werther's Originals and old lady.
And gin.
Yeah.
Lots of gin.
Ugh. So depressing.
Well, we only have a couple of minutes before we're going to bring on Tony Katz of Tony Katz in the Morning News, 93 WIBC in Indianapolis. But did you see, you have Trump touring the country on his thank you tour. I don't know is he calling it the thank you tour? But
yes.
Apparently Hillary and Tim Kaine are going to have a thank you tour, and it's only one stop in Manhattan to thank the big money donors.
The collection played out.
For that Tim Kaine in 2020 campaign.
Yeah, I read an article. That's kind of what they're hinting at. Like, he's maybe considering it. And then you've got Biden, everybody freaks out because he's say never. And they're like, oh my God, he's running. It's like, what? Yeah, I mean, he's older than Trump now, I believe.
Yeah.
But I guess there's an argument to be made that Trump will be 74 and he'll be 74. So what's the big deal? But I don't.
He'll be 76 by then. But that's quite a bench they have over there.
Yeah. Well, Cuomo's gearing up.
Yeah.
To me, he pretty much constitutes their bench at this point. And he's been making some moves.
Tim Kaine.
I know, it's pathetic. I just can't believe anybody would show up to grieve with Hillary.
Right.
Aren't these people tapped out? Like, I gave hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars to this old bag. Why do I want to go and sit and eat rubber chicken in a room and listen to one of her speeches?
Oh, who wouldn't want to sit for 45 minutes and listen to her give a speech, Tracy? She's a fantastic orator. I mean, really.
It's a resume builder now if we're told that her sitting in the Benghazi hearings for 11 hours is a qualification. Maybe these people are putting that on their I survived the Hillary Clinton speech.
I would think 3 minutes in, people would be sitting there going, "What? This is bullshit. Why do I still have to listen to this woman?"
Mm-hmm. It's so nice. Every day I wake up and I'm like, she's never going to be president.
Oh, she may run in 4 years, Tracy. You never know.
Oh, please. I would love it. Get beaten again.
This was stolen from her.
It was the Russians.
The Russians, and 2.2 million more people voted for her.
Oh, they brought that up.
Oh, I'm
so
sure.
Obnoxiously. Because they during that discussion about the right track, wrong track coming out of the conventions, Mook had to jump in and be like, well, she did win the popular vote, And Kellyanne just goes, oh, my God, you guys lost. We won. It was the road to 270, not the road to the popular vote. Thank you very much. Can we just be done with this? And they're like, well, no. It's because we're just saying, like, obviously people don't think of the wrong track. And they're like, oh, dear God.
Oh, God.
You guys still haven't accepted this. And I don't think they ever will.
Well, why don't we bring on Tony Katz?
Let's do it.
There he is. You doing okay?
Yeah, I'm good. Busy, but wonderful and glorious and happy and joyous and full of mirth.
Mirth always sounds like it should be a bad word, but it's not. Like it's, it's. There's something about it
because it's close to meth, or is it just dirty in general? Is it close to meth or is it close to girth? Which one has you most upset?
I don't know. There's something that just sounds negative about it, like malignant.
Oh, well, malignant is. Malignant
I know.
You don't have anything malignant.
Correct.
You know?
I think it's the M that does it for me. It sends me in that direction. It's mal, Tony. It's mal.
You're not even making any sense.
I know. Sorry.
Is mirth just as bad a word to women as moist?
No, and moist doesn't bother me either.
I've never understood that. But Tony Katz is here from Tony Katz in the Morning News. You can catch him from 6 to 10 a.m. Eastern Time.
Oh, wait, we're live? This is what's happening?
Yeah, well, we're not live, but it's a podcast.
I understand, but like
am I supposed
to
to
edit it? Like, or do you just do it as a stream of consciousness? What happens?
Yeah, stream of consciousness. I mean, I'm still introducing you though. Where let people know where they can hear you, Tony.
Oh, okay, I'll be fine. Sorry.
Am I not supposed to do that? You're a radio professional. It's just a jobby for me.
I have no idea. Does anybody know how to be a radio professional anymore? Meghan McCain is in radio. What do you want from me?
Oh, that's really that really helps my self-esteem.
Hey, she has some really good insights, okay? She understands geopolitical issues better than just about any other millennial on the planet.
Is that true?
No.
Has Tommy Lahren given her opinion on that?
I don't know. We'll hit her up.
Can you explain to me the Tommy hate? I don't understand it. She's just there. I don't understand why in the last few weeks.
The answer is no. I couldn't explain to you the Tommy hate, nor on a personal level. And God bless. Go make $1 million. Knock yourself out. I don't understand the Tommy love. In that, I want to be challenged on thoughts and ideas. I don't want to get yelled at by anybody. And while Tommy may, in her way, feel that she's defending the cause or taking on the bad guy, what I hear is somebody yelling at me. I don't want to be yelled at. So, and now maybe it's not for me, right? Maybe it's not meant for me, and I'm not the audience there. I tune it out. There's nothing that I'm watching, even if someone were to share a video with me. But the idea that she's the worst person in the world, and no, she's not the worst person in the world. I don't know her personally, but there are a lot of radio people out there, or television people, pundits, who are all sorts of upset and vented in a myriad of ways, a multiplicity of ways. That shouldn't drive you crazy, especially when you can turn things off or delete things. What's the big deal?
Well, Tony, I think the reason why you don't like being yelled at is because you're filled with mirth.
Mm-hmm.
I have found mirth to be a good thing. Mirth and girth, both worthwhile.
Sure. This is true.
And often in equal measure. No?
Sure.
Yeah.
Why not? Why not? Well,
where is Scottie Hughes when you need her, damn it?
I could cold call her, but probably not a good idea.
By the way, is it too late just to say that Seth Meyers is a little bitch? Is it too late just to...
It's never too late for that.
What a little bitch is Seth Meyers, who made his career on the backs of women who were funny, Amy Poehler and Tina Fey. All right, the minute he doesn't have the two of them propping him up and allowing him to suckle at the teat, oh my God, does he fail miserably. He has a show that is so... You wish Bill Press was on television. The Seth Meyers show is so bad, you're like, I wonder if Girls is on. That's how absolutely horrible he is. He's unfunny as the day is long, and he takes on Scottie Hughes. What a cowardly little bitch Seth Meyers is. Holy mackerel. This is what qualifies for television. This is what qualifies for entertainment. In the world of a ton of talk show hosts, he is so bottom of the barrel. You watch Seth Meyers and you realize what a comic genius Trevor Noah really is. That's how awful Seth Meyers is. What a nasty guy. He went after Scottie. He went after Scottie Hughes. You've got a world of things you can talk about. Scottie Hughes, somebody who's not involved with the campaign anymore, somebody who's not part of the incoming administration as far as anybody knows. She is the point of your attack. You're a brave, brave soul, Seth Meyers. Little bitch.
Well, but this is what they do. I mean, you would see in 2012 the Saturday Night Live folks on Weekend Update still making Sarah Palin jokes. You're like, really?
Yeah.
We're still doing Sarah Palin 4 years later? But this is what they do.
You've got a point. You've got a point. Literally, there should be a hotline on Seth Meyers' desk. So, like, every 5 minutes he can call and reach Tina Fey and get a good joke to say. He should have that kind of backup. You know, it should be like how Family Guy goes to Conway Twitty. He should be able to go to some kind of Amy Poehler routine at any moment just to bail him out.
Tracy, you're not a fan of Family Guy, are you?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
That's a shame.
I don't understand it.
Oh, the dog, it talks, but it's a cartoon, so it's okay.
No, I don't get the humor. I don't see it. I don't find it funny.
Then you're dead inside. If you don't think Family Guy is funny, you might really like Seth Meyers.
Oh, yeah, no.
You gonna take that?
Yeah, I didn't know. It's possible to find both of those things unfunny.
It's possible to find one of those things unfunny.
Okay.
I freely admit I have not. I tried giving Seth Meyers a chance when the show first launched. Well, you're up. You know, it's between watching that British guy driving around doing some sort of karaoke or an infomercial for the power pressure cooker. 12:30 at night, there's really not a lot on. I ended up watching the power pressure cooker commercial because you could cook lobster in 6 minutes, Tony Katz, in the power pressure cooker.
A couple of things, okay? Forget James Corden, Carpool Karaoke. James Corden is a wickedly talented guy. This is a guy who won a Tony Award. This is a guy who, against all odds, is being successful in late night. Not only against all odds because he was really an unknown quantity in the U.S. Certainly far better to watch than that Seth Meyers nonsense. And in Carpool Karaoke, man, he took Jimmy Fallon for a ride. That's a serious, serious thing. And when you talk about getting people wrong, I got Fallon wrong. I thought Fallon would be a miserable mess in late-night TV. I did not give enough credence and credibility to his skit skills. And he is perfect for the YouTube generation. The stuff that he does is fantastic in that regard. I don't think the man can do an interview to save his life. I don't think any of them can, to be honest. But it's what he has done in terms of the skit and the 3-minute bit and getting that on YouTube and getting the views out of it, he has been exceptional. And if you want to know the bigger points, you can, in your Facebook feeds, you can see stuff from Fallon. And you can see stuff from Corden. Heck, you might even see a little Colbert in there. You'll even see some Team Coco. Conan O'Brien still doing great work out there in TBS land. You know who you never see? Seth freaking Meyers.
Well, I guess I didn't give this guy a chance because I really like Colin Ferguson, and I was sad to see him go.
Terrific. Ferguson was fantastic. Really, really funny. He does now. He does the game night thing, but he's terrific. The guy I'd like to see, aside from myself, with a late night talk show, Norm Macdonald.
Yeah.
Norm Macdonald is spectacular, and he's a talker, and he's a sharer, and he's a storyteller. He would be impressive as hell. Sure as hell a lot better than Seth Meyers. Can I mention he sucks? Oh, what a little bitch he is.
Well, one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, Tony, you know, people are still quite angry in some circles regarding the Carrier deal. You were at the Carrier plant when Trump and Pence showed up for the big announcement. Can you kind of walk us through what you saw?
Well, I can give, you know, you take a look at where America is on this. 50% love the deal, 50% don't understand the deal, but 100% hate Seth Meyers. And it's good to see we have some connectivity there. We have some people coming together. Really, I think it's a three-way kind of story, maybe even more. First is the idea of, was there cronyism involved? And I'm embarrassed to say that people don't know what cronyism is. And that you could say a lot of things about this deal, but cronyism is not one of the things that you can say. The incentives have been offered repeatedly. When Carrier first said they would leave, Governor Pence, Mayor Joe Hogsett, Democrat from Indianapolis, Senator Joe Donnelly, Democrat from Indiana, Senator Dan Coates, Republicans, they all went to talk to Carrier. There were incentives offered left and right from something called the Indiana Development Economic Council or Economic Corporation. They absolutely offered incentives. The problem was there was no conversation about regulatory reform or tax rates. They couldn't make those kinds of promises. What Trump was able to do was to say, we're going to remove the regulations, the undue burdensome regulations, and we're going to work on lowering the corporate tax rate. Trump's number is 15%. The Speaker Paul Ryan number is 20%. Somewhere in there is going to be the new corporate tax rate down from 35%, which is going to make things a lot more palatable. So this deal wasn't cronyism. The incentives, the $7 million over 10 years, first of all, still will make Indiana a tremendous amount of money. And secondly, it's the way businesses run these days. I don't like it. It drives me nuts. But I have lost that argument, and all 50 states engaged the incentives. And most importantly, the incentives had been offered repeatedly in different ways since Carrier announced they were going to move the 1,400 jobs out of Indianapolis. So that's one. Is the idea that this is cronyism is not. It's a false conversation, and then it's being put up by people who are supposedly people who are believers in the market is kind of insulting. The idea of whether or not Trump should get involved in this, that's got people on a back and forth. If the job of the president isn't to make a phone call and say, hey, are you sure you're going to leave? Well, I think that's a fine thing to do. I don't think it's fine when he goes about saying, we're not going to allow them to leave. No. You don't get to say you are not allowed to leave. That's the kind of crazy stuff. That's like Chuck Schumer and these conversations that you sometimes hear that there should be an exit tax if you want to leave the country. They're fine with you leaving. They just want your money. That's awful stuff. We shouldn't be any part of that. And the flip side is, why is anybody so upset that Trump may have said, and I believe he said it, listen, you want to leave, you can leave, but those $6 billion worth of contracts you have, listen, we can't have $6 billion worth of government contracts with you, so we're going to have to make that $3.2 billion. We're going to have to make it $3.2 billion. It's the way it is. What do you want me to do? Of course you can say that. The company can do anything they want, and you as the federal government and a user of their services can't decide you'll cancel a contract? What kind of holy hell is this? You would have to be a Seth Meyers viewer to think that way. So those are, I think, the big two. And if there's anything else, the place where I think Team Trump made the error, if you're only going to save 700 and some odd jobs, just say so. Don't be telling people it's 1,100 jobs. 1,069 was the exact figure they gave. Don't be telling people that you're going to save 1,100 jobs when it's only going to be 700 some odd. You don't have to do that with us. You don't have to get into the number manipulation game with us. And I think he's going to take the hit on that when they didn't have to. It's the first real unforced error of the transition, which I say has been incredibly successful for Trump and for Mike Pence, the vice president-elect. They didn't have to make the mistake. They chose to. And I think that's going to hurt them for a little while. But I'd rather have the 700 jobs than not.
You really think that people are going to harp on that, the number discrepancy? Because as far as I can tell, they've moved on. They've totally moved on.
No. I think they're going to harp on it because, if we're talking about how these people act and react in social settings and in social media and how they glom onto something, you know this better than anybody, Tracy. They've got something now that they can say, see, Trump's a liar. And they're going to use that as the starting point and then engage the waterfall of anything else that they want to say because they're starting with a kernel and nugget of truth. So, sure. Yeah, I do think they're going to harp on it. And, again, it was an unforced error.
No, I understand that. I haven't heard a peep about that. They're concerned more about a tweet saying he wants to cancel the contract with Boeing to build, new Air Force Ones. And they're
if Trump was able to get their minds off of it, I say good on him.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's easy. Maybe you're right. And I don't know why they would have made up a number that is not anywhere near the real number, but who knows?
They didn't have to. They didn't make up the number. What they included were jobs that were already going to stay. Don't take credit for those. Don't take credit for. Just say you saved 700 some odd jobs, and then when people say, "Oh, what about the other 600 people?" Well, nobody guaranteed you a job for life.
Correct.
And Barack Obama saved no jobs. and Hillary Clinton saved no jobs, and Nancy Pelosi saved no jobs, and Chuck Schumer saved no jobs, and Harry Reid fell on his face again. I mean, stop it. Stop being so ridiculous, so angry. But cock the people. You know who loves Seth Meyers? Harry Reid. Harry Reid's crazy about Seth Meyers.
So that's the one thing that was driving me nuts through the whole discussion, as far as from our side, people coming out and all of a sudden we're against tax abatements. Anyone that lives in the Midwest and the Rust Belt knows that these large manufacturers go to the state and local governments all the time looking for tax relief. This is nothing new.
I will admit that I'm not a fan of any of it. I want the business to rise and fall based on its merits, and I don't want one business getting a deal that another business doesn't get. That does drive me crazy. But the thing that I watched in this deal is what was coming from or promised from the federal government. If the answer is it was a promise of looking at regulations and looking at corporate tax rates, that affects all of us. Mm-hmm. I'm not bothered by that. If there had been something specific for Carrier on the federal level, I'd be screaming to high heaven. But that it came from the state has already offered these benefits, the abatements, as you discuss it, the incentive package, as others will call it. So I'm not surprised by that. I don't enjoy it, but yes, it does happen.
Well, to me, it cracks open the door for more of this, right? We all want to pay less taxes. And this is an admission of the fact that lowering their tax rate benefits the company. It makes it easier for them to stay here and do business, that they get to keep their own damn money. And that's the door that's been opened by this. And everybody would rather bitch about how, oh, this is cronyism and favoritism and stuff like that. No, guys, this is an opportunity to push for this to expand to everybody.
You know, as long as it does happen for everybody, mm-hmm. I've always said if you're going to give it to one, give it to everybody. Sure. If we can give a tax break to Company X, we can give a tax break all across the state. I wish that was more of the watchword.
Well, we need to drive home the idea that the government, be it state or federal, has no right to your money. And they can whine and cry that, oh, now this is a loss. This is a revenue loss. This is a big deal. No, it's not. You expected to get X. You're not getting X. You're going to have to figure out how to make it work.
You know who cries a lot? Seth Meyers.
Oh. Do you hate watch him every night? Is that what's going on?
I don't watch him at all. But if you're so intellectually lazy and comedically lazy that your answer to what to do on a Monday night is to go after Scottie Nell Hughes, you are the Carlos Mencia of late night. How freaking lame are you?
I just wonder how much longer this is going to continue. At what point do they realize that nobody's interested in that kind of humor anymore? It doesn't work for them. I think it actually hurts their side. I think it helped Trump get elected. And I don't know if they'll wake up to it. I kind of hope that they don't. But
the election of Nancy Pelosi to still lead the House Democrats should prove that they're not going to wake up to anything.
Well, that's the political side. But is the entertainment caucus going to wake up? I mean, I've seen articles, and there was one in LA Weekly maybe a week ago saying, hey, this experiment in pushing our politics through pop culture is done. It's failed. We should stop doing it. I don't expect them to
how do you explain that to Katy Perry? How do you explain that to Cher? How do you explain that to Lena Dunham? How do you explain that to Mark Ruffalo? Honestly, how do
I don't know.
Stop when this is who they are? The only person who ever walked the walk and talked the talk was Ed Begley Jr. Mm-hmm. Like everybody else is just talking and they feel entitled to talk. Why would they stop? Oh, this isn't me, trying to lecture. This is just how I feel. And my audience on Instagram wants to know how I feel. Your audience on Instagram wants to see if you have naked pictures on there. Everything else they don't give a crap about, but yet somehow they're led to believe.
Well, Obama's going to have a lot of free time. Maybe he can summon them all and explain to them that they need to shut up for 4 years.
Oh, no, Obama doesn't care what they do. He got what's his damage done. He's moving on. Do you think he cares? Think he cares what happens to the Democratic Party? He'd
not
very
even a little bit.
To be the last Democratic president of a generation.
I agree. Do you notice that nobody's mentioned that maybe he should take over the DNC?
Oh, no, absolutely not. Not Muslim enough.
I know. Won't that just beat all if they put Keith Ellison in there? I think I might die.
Oh,
from the laughter.
Keith Ellison's totally going to be the guy.
Yep.
Totally. I mean, you got to go completely in the wrong direction as much as humanly possible. That's the way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he's Tony Katz. You can catch him weekdays at 93 WIBC in Indianapolis. You can follow him on Twitter at Tony Katz. Anything else I'm missing, Tony?
Join me when I take over for Seth Meyers.
Well, there you have it. Tony Katz Radio on Facebook.
That's right. Tony Katz Radio on Facebook, at Tony Katz on Twitter, Tony Katz on Instagram, the Tony Katz on Snapchat. Good times had by all.
Snapchat?
WIBC.com is where you can find me. Yeah, I'm on Snapchat. I do it all, baby.
Wow. That's Tony Katz. Thanks, Tony.
Check out my
Thank you,
MySpace page.
Cool.
You have a live journal?
Who doesn't? My Tumblr.
All right. Let's bring on Ashe.
Hey.
There she is. Ashe Schow is here from watchdog.org and the New York Observer. How are you, Ashe?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Fantastic.
Fabulous.
How are things going with the new gig? Excited? Happy?
It's great. I love it. I just love the freedom and less pressure that just allows me to do great work, and not worry that, I'm getting so many articles out a day or else. So it's a really great change of pace and really more relaxing and actually, enjoying work again.
Wow. Well, congratulations. We're thrilled for you.
Yeah. So
what have you managed to dig up?
Well, it hasn't been so much digging because it is like, just got back from Thanksgiving and going on to Christmas. So, there have been some stories that have been broken. I've been able to add some things, get some comment. Later today, I should be filing an article about another due process lawsuit, this time at Williams College, where the woman, she was an employee at the school. She had graduated and then became an employee at the school, continued to date a student, complain about their relationship. After, I guess, they sort of broke up, he filed a Title IX complaint against her, claiming harassment because she hit him at a party and had, stalked him. And the school did absolutely nothing. They didn't investigate anything against her, even though she was an employee. And the Title IX requires them to immediately. They did nothing. A month later, she filed a complaint against him, claiming he sexually assaulted her 2 years earlier while they were in a committed relationship, and then claims stalking, all kinds of things. She also claimed that she wrote some of his papers for him in some of his classes, and he was able to prove that wasn't the case. His professors said this wasn't the case. And so she was kind of proven a liar then. But the school starts investigating her claim against him. They claim they're doing them at the same time, which is dumb. Why did you wait so long on his? And then obviously, from the notes, it's very clear that they took hers at face value and pretty much disregarded his, because his wasn't included at all in her claims against him. I believe he was suspended or expelled. He's suing. It was ridiculous. He made the claim first. It was very clear that this was retaliation, and yet the school went along with it and took her side as truth.
So he's filing a suit against the school now?
He's suing the school. Yeah.
Claiming gender discrimination?
Yes. And
Excellent.
This is a pretty good example of that because, so often these accusations, these lawsuits come, and the accusation came against him. He says it's not true. He sues the school. Here we have an instance where a male student filed a Title IX complaint against a female, and it was ignored. But when she filed a complaint against him a month later, when it was very clearly retaliation, that hers was still taken as, the gospel.
Wow. And this piece will be up later today. We're recording this
hopefully
Wednesday,
later today, tomorrow,
December 7th here. So it'll either be up today or tomorrow on watchdog.org.
Yes.
Now, when did you start writing for The Hill?
Well, because I'm with Watchdog, I'm allowed to write for other publications, and so an opinion editor at The Hill asked me if I, to start being a contributor for The Hill. So I had my first piece there go up yesterday about how the mainstream media is a pretty big spreader of fake news. They're all talking about fake news and everything is fake news and Trump got elected because of fake news. When, it's kind of like all this time the media, the public trust in the media continues to just drop precipitously. And yet you're saying fake news won Trump the election? Like, how can fake news convince anybody when people don't believe the news in the first place? Like, I mean, it's just become ridiculous. And so I had some examples. Actually, John Nolte, he's now with the Daily Wire, used to be with Breitbart. He had an article saying, like, you know what was a really big actual fake news story? Hands up, don't shoot.
Yeah.
And so he wrote about that. So I added a couple other instances, which is basically like most of the fact checks, quote unquote, fact checks against Trump during the election, claiming that he lies when he says he was against the Iraq war, even though the only evidence that he was for it was him telling Howard Stern, yeah, I guess, when asked about it. And I mean, that coming from Trump is not a sign of support or dissupporter at all. But this is a guy who can't normally say the word yes without 8 different qualifiers and a whole paragraph around his explanation. Like, this guy is not a terse person. So just saying, yeah, I guess, is hardly full-throated support of the war. And then all the rest of the timeline of him is pretty much, I wouldn't have done this. I mean, at one point he said, we're going to win, this is going to be good. And then, he started assessing it. But that wasn't even supporting it. That wasn't saying whether he would have gone in. He said, right now it looks fine. And then that quickly changed. Hillary Clinton actually supported it and voted for it. He did not. And he wasn't out there in usual Trump fashion with press conference saying, we need to do this. So this idea that, like, he's lying when he said he didn't support it, the way it's always been framed is as if he did support it, which is definitely not the case. But you also had, the founding of ISIS comment where the media took him so seriously to fact check him, claiming that he was apparently trying to say that Obama sat in a room with Islamic terrorists creating a new organization for them to compete with Al-Qaeda or rise up in the decline of Al-Qaeda. Like, nobody with half a brain, which apparently excludes the media, thought that's what Trump was saying. I actually had an argument with a woman or somebody the other night, I think, claiming, they wouldn't have been able to fact check that. I'm like, yeah, they absolutely would have. And they're like, well, the better thing would have been to not fact check. And I'm like, I agree. You don't fact check something so stupid. But, like, right. You could definitely have fact-checked it from, Obama's policies, which is what Trump was actually saying. You could have looked into, here are the policies, and this is what Trump is saying, and why he says this allowed the creation. Because people on the right, foreign policy people, have been writing about this for years. But instead, the media decided to make some dumb claim about what Trump said, and then to fact-check their incorrect interpretation of it.
Well, I do think the media has an obsession with dumb voters. Like, if you listen to them talking still about how Trump got elected, it's non-college educated people. So perhaps they feel that the non-college educated people are dumb enough that they would totally think that Obama, headed over to Syria and hung out in Aleppo and formed up a gang and was like, yo, what are we going to call ourselves? How about ISIS? That's pretty cool.
I mean, well, this media lives in this bubble where everyone they know went to college. They went to college. They grew up in a you have to go to college type family. And I did that too. Mm-hmm. But I've also met a lot of people who did not go to college. And that doesn't make them dumb. They're not illiterate, like hillbillies who, get drunk and shoot guns at each other. Like, seems to be what the media thinks of non-college educated people, because they say that as if you're not educated at all, as if you never went to K through 12, as if you didn't learn how to read, as if you don't know basic math skills, as if you've never read a book. I mean, do they think that there's no education prior to college? Because that's how they treat people.
Yes,
well, they think that these people are incapable of just common sense.
Right. Which is I've argued in a piece before that there are different types of knowledge. And just because you don't go to college, which again, you go to college and a lot of the classes you take are things you took in high school anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you read more books. Maybe you take a philosophy class that you didn't take in high school, but does not reading philosophy automatically make you an idiot? No, it doesn't. And a lot of people who didn't go to college, they don't have massive debt, which kind of, I don't know, makes them kind of smart in my eyes.
Yes.
They also probably got a job right away and probably been working at that job, working their way up with know-how, because it's one thing to go to college. But once you get to an actual job, a whole lot of what you learned in college is dumb because you need to learn for that specific job. So on-the-job training, probably more beneficial than anything you could learn in college. It definitely was for me. But these people, they have jobs. They've probably already married. They probably already bought a house and a car and know about mortgages and home financing and credit cards and managing your budget. Whereas college students who might not have jobs outside of college or are still living with their parents or live in an apartment in the city where it's just you pay rent and that's that. You don't know about mortgage or equity or financing or anything like that. You don't pay it. I certainly don't. I'm not good with those things because I never learned that. It's a different kind of knowledge, real world versus book learning, I guess you could call it. But to say that these people are dumb is just incredibly insulting, dismissive, and really does show a lot of the reason why Trump won.
Mm-hmm.
Nope.
And they're just going to drive this fake news thing into the ground. I can't get away from this idea that there's fake news everywhere.
Right. And it's just, okay, on Facebook, I see people sharing URLs that are like conservative this, conservative that, or Occupy Democrats, or things that are like, you know what? I wouldn't call those legitimate news sites, all right? Especially when they're like exclusive. This top official said this, and it's like, I really don't think that you have access to a top official, But people aren't so stupid. I do see people sharing that, and I'm just like, okay, I pass it along. But I see people on the right and the left sharing things like that.
Sure, and a lot of them are college educated.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's not even the biggest problem in media is those little sites that, some of these fake news sites or people who stretch the truth beyond the truth, who do make drudge. But at the same time, it's the mainstream media and their mistruths, like misleading stories, like the hands up, don't shoot, or claiming, Trump had no chance to win the election. They're constant, like, oh, it's a foregone conclusion, or, anything like that, or just the way that they portray conservatives because the liberal bias, like that in itself is basically fake news. There's a thing going around today where they're trying to again claim that Paul Ryan hates poor people because of a speech he gave at CPAC 2 years ago where he mentioned people are getting their fill, but they're left with an empty soul. He then, after that, told a story relayed to him by somebody else, which he got attacked for because this woman apparently stole the story from something. So he got attacked for that. Because, when somebody tells you something, a constituent, a friend, you're supposed to fact check them in case you're ever going to tell their story again. Because God forbid, somebody has a similar story, but whatever. Anyway, so he had mentioned this story told to him by somebody else that she knew like a young boy who was getting free lunches at school saying he didn't want a free lunch. He wanted the brown bag lunch like all the other kids want because it meant somebody actually cared about him. And Paul Ryan used this story to make a claim about government. That's like they want dignity. They don't want just a handout. They want to be able to make something of themselves, blah, blah. Well, Time magazine went with a headline saying, Paul Ryan claims that giving kids free school lunches, leaving them with empty souls, right? Completely Paul Ryan, and he's awful, take school lunches away from children. And it's like, one, this is a 2-year-old story that if you read what he actually said, shows just how malicious the reporting on this has been. And people, you want to talk about fake news, fake outrage.
Yeah.
That's fake news.
Well, that's the problem, right? It's kind of biases that both sides have. And when you see something that fits with what you think should be happening, coming from the left to the right, you just want to pass it along. And a lot of this is just headline readers. And they don't read the actual story.
Yeah, there was a good Onion article going around that was something, man diligently fact-checks article against his own preconceived biases.
Uh-huh.
And it was like, that's basically, I mean, that's the whole Rolling Stone thing and the whole Stephen Glass thing. Yeah. Like, you just believe these things about certain groups, so you don't need to fact check it because you know it's true.
Yeah. But I think calling it fake news is not the right thing, but I'm sure we're stuck with that now. Right,
because fake news is, I think there's one that's like, The Onion. That is fake news as satire. But that is fake news.
Correct.
A lot of places are satire, but a lot of fake news, I mean, if you're just absolutely making something up, that's fake news. Some of it is satire. Some of it is headline clicks, some of these groups. But most of what really is fake news is incorrect reporting based on preconceived biases.
Sure.
And and narrative building. I mean, gun control. My God, the mainstream media reporting about gun control, that is fake news because they get everything wrong because they refuse to talk to actual gun owners about actual gun policy. You had the whole Katie Couric documentary.
Yeah.
Like, that they just want to show them as stupid inbred hicks who don't know anything about real policy. They're all named Jim Bob, and they don't know nothing about nothing. I mean, like, that's how they want to portray people who care about guns.
Right, and you can just walk into a gun show and walk out with an RPG.
Right, exactly. No background check, no nothing. Yeah, because that's how it works. It's like, because they've never actually gone and done something like that.
I don't know how this all shakes out. I find it wildly entertaining, though.
Right, because the ones that are like the worst about this stuff are the ones that are decrying it the most.
Sure, well, they're always projecting.
Right.
So that's what you have to keep in mind.
Follow Ashe on Twitter at Ashe Schow, and of course you can catch all of her work at watchdog.org, the New York Observer, now The Hill. Anywhere else, Ashe?
There might be some places in the future.
Look at you. Busy. Ashe Schow, everyone. Thank you, Ashe.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else, Tracy, or are we going to wrap this puppy up?
Did you think we were going to escape this without dealing with the fact that it's your birthday?
I was kind of hoping we were. Here I thought you forgot.
No. Come on. I'm playing 16 Candles on you.
Getting all misty. Yeah, turning 62 years old today.
Oh, fabulous.
62. You know what's amazing to me? The older I get, and I'm turning 45 today, actually, but it makes me sad that when someone asks me, you know, hey, when's your birthday? And I always say Pearl Harbor Day.
Yeah.
The amount of people that will give me the deer in the headlights look, not knowing what Pearl Harbor Day is.
So it's not a day that will live in infamy, huh?
I guess not. 75th anniversary of, Pearl Harbor Day. We got the, it's my 45th birthday.
How many letters did you get from the AARP?
I have not gotten any yet, but,
Wow.
I'm growing my Randy Quaid beard out.
Oh, I love it.
Thank you. And it's, I'd say, at this point, somewhere in the neighborhood of 40% pure white.
It's a good percentage.
40% of the chin is completely white, and it's branching out. So I'm hoping sometime soon, if I keep growing this out, that I can just walk into McDonald's and get a 25-cent cup of coffee without them asking for my AARP card or my ID. It's terrible.
I say work it. Oh, come on.
It really is. You know, I had this guy last night walk up to me that I really don't know all that well. And he said, is something wrong with you? I said, what? What's going on? He goes, it looks like you're limping on both feet.
How's that possible?
I was like, well, I've got 2 bad Achilles tendons, and I have to, if I sit down for any length of time, the first 25, 30 steps I take, I look like Frankenstein, you know? And this guy that was asking me this question had to have been 60 years old. And he's like, oh, that's too bad. You should get that looked at. And then he walked by faster than he passed me. I was like, this cat's 60 years old asking me if I'm okay. Father Time's an asshole.
Well, enjoy it. Are you gonna treat yourself to some McDonald's drive-thru today?
Well, every day is my birthday. So, I'm going to do that. And other than that, I'm going to work. It's just going to be a normal day for me. It's not like I'm turning 21 and it's something to celebrate. It's just closer to 60 now than I'm 30.
But you're closer to 30 than you are to 70.
Look at you. Glass half full, not glass half
Why
empty.
not?
What I mean, look, you're in your may I share your age?
Yeah, I don't care.
You're in your mid-30s.
I would say mid to late. On the late side.
Mid. I mean, do you celebrate a birthday? I mean, do you?
No.
I mean, you just
Not
get
really.
up, you look, you see, you open up the Facebook, you see people wish you a happy birthday. That's always nice. But other than that, it's just another day. I mean, really,
Yeah,
Feh.
you've made it around the sun again.
Yeah. Hopefully, I'll make
Well
another
done.
lap.
Not on those Achilles tendons, you won't.
No, I guess not. But I'm gonna go out and buy myself a box of Fireball, put it in my freezer.
Nice. Treat yourself.
Yeah. And
Get 3 of those apple pies today.
oh, I should. That's a good idea. They have the holiday pies now. You know what I've been doing lately? At the gas station. They have
where the best meals come from.
They have the Little Debbie now has the holiday cakes that look like a Christmas tree.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about? You probably don't know what I'm talking about.
They're Little Debbie snack cakes that are in the shape of a Christmas tree. I can picture this.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Are they coated in green icing?
No, it's white icing, but they do have, it looks like a Christmas tree. So it's a snow-covered tree, and you could see some green icing. It may be their what do you call it? Not tinsel, but the stuff you put around the tree, garland.
Lights? Garland. Okay.
Yes, maybe green garland. I don't know, but they're delicious. Delicious, I tells you. You get yourself an orange Mountain Dew, a Little Debbie Christmas snack cake, and some Nutty Bars. You're good to go.
Oh my! This sounds like you're going to the prison commissary for your snacks.
Why am I overweight?
I don't know. It's a glandular thing, I assume.
Yes, thyroid issue.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the most depressing thing. I see, Facebook has this on this day feature. Mm-hmm. And, today I'm looking and there are pictures of me, either posted by other people on hey, happy birthday. This is us a few years back. And I'm looking and I'm like, oh my God, I look 15 years younger, and that was 3 years ago.
Oh, wow. You've been through a lot.
Yes. Oh, yeah, it's true. It really is true. But so it's my birthday, and I really have no plans to do anything. I just wish I could go back to bed, and I can't. But yeah, I know. Wow. Well, this really is just sad and depressing. But thank you for wishing me a happy birthday. Is there anything else?
Not that I can think of.
Okay. Well, our thanks go out to Tony Katz. You can listen to him weekdays. 93 WIBC in Indianapolis, WIBC.com. Check him out there. Follow him at Tony Katz. And, of course, our thanks go out to Ashe Schow. Follow her on Twitter at Ashe Schow. Where can everyone find the Enough Already podcast?
You can find us on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, and SoundCloud. You can also find us on Facebook, where last week I did dutifully put up every article that we had talked about on the show. So it's something that I'd always promised, and I finally made good on that. And I also post stuff up at enoughlalreadypodcast.com.
Check all of that out. I think that I need to start posting stuff there too, Tracy. I think it's a good idea not only to post the stories that we talk about here on the podcast, but just if we find something interesting, throw it up there for people to look at on the Facebook page. And follow it, share it. And again, thank you to all those who are sharing the podcast with their friends and leaving reviews on the old iTunes there. You can see us at Enough Already Podcast. On an iTunes search, please leave a review. 5 stars. 5 stars, Tracy.
Yeah.
Leave a 5-star review, please. But that's it. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll be back next week with an all-new Enough Already podcast.